Good morning. Welcome back to Trading Options Network. It is Monday morning. Hope you all had a great weekend. Before we get into anything, of course, we got to talk about our disclaimer here. Everything you see is solely for educational purposes only and is not the opinion of Trading Options Network. It's solely my opinion. That being said, with this information, do with it what you will. Take responsibility for your actions. But I hope you learn stuff. Of course, be sure to like, follow, or subscribe on your favorite social media platform to stay up to date with Trading Options Network. That being said, we have a pretty green day out, minus telecom services. Verizon did go ahead and post their earnings for the last quarter. Let's actually take a look. I haven't looked at them since. They were actually pretty flat, I saw when they were about to open. Or I should say when we were about to open. Okay, so it really dropped, obviously, before open. But you know what? I really don't care. I don't have any positions in Verizon, and I really don't plan on getting into any positions in Verizon either. So, yep. Let's get rid of those. All right. So, coming back over to the heat map again, we do have a pretty green day overall, and that's actually very, very good for the market. So I will be looking to probably open up some positions. CrowdStrike is down big again, but I'm not too worried about that because, again, we don't have any positions in CrowdStrike, and it does not seem like any of the other technology stocks are following suit. But, of course, if you have not heard, there's been a global IT outage. So CrowdStrike has definitely been getting the brunt of that for sure. If we go ahead and pull it up, you're going to see their chart is looking nasty. Was looking great for a while, and then it just fell off the face of the earth, which, truth be told, I see this as an opportunity to get into some good positions here soon. But we will see what the future brings with this one. Change that to MACD really quick. There we go. All right. Here's how I like to look at it. All right. So again, CrowdStrike has been taking it right to the face, honestly. Although I will say, that's a nice long lower shadow right there. So maybe people are starting to buy back into it, expecting CrowdStrike. Obviously, this global IT outage is not going to last forever. So. But again, going back to this, a lot of green today. A lot of green, and pretty much from everything. Okay, again, with the exception of telecom services, the big companies are green, the small companies are green. Pretty much every single sector is green for the most part. Again, we do have industries within the sectors that may not be green, such as energy. Energy looks like it's going to be the most red of everything right now. If we go ahead and pull up all of the sectors specifically, we can see that there is actually, let's just go to the performance for the day. Oh, can't do the day there? Shoot, I thought we could. Well, oh wait, here we go. Yeah, I knew they were on here somewhere. So the change for the day, everything is green again, with the exception of energy. It's just slightly down. Consumer staples is slightly up. But everything else, for the most part, is up a decent amount. So good for the market for sure. If we go ahead and take a look at the S&P. Let's go ahead and zoom in just a little bit. It does look like it is wanting to start another leg higher. We'll have to see how the day finishes, but as of right now, if it continues up at all and we get just a little bit more of a green day, then I like the idea of opening up some new positions. I'm not going to go super bullish, don't get me wrong. I'll probably be more neutral to maybe slightly more bullish than neutral, but I'm not going to go crazy and just start buying all kinds of calls and stuff like that. Because one, we can get up to this level right here where we gapped down last week, and it could just totally bounce off of that. Okay. Or we can just continue to move on and go to set new all-time highs. So there's a lot to take from this. We do have a decent amount of information that's going to be coming out this week. I know Netflix, for example, is going to be doing their earnings. We have the CPI data that'll be coming out on Friday, I believe. There's a couple other financial let's just go ahead and pull them up, because now I can't remember what they are, even though I was just looking at them this morning. Go to next week. There we go. So we have the PMI. I'm sorry, it's the PCI. I said CPI. The PCE is on Friday. And then the flash manufacturing PMI is Wednesday. Nothing today. We do have the advanced GDP on Thursday, which is probably going to have the most effect of anything this week. But, we just kind of have to wait and see what happens with all this data. The PMI and the PCE, I think if they're pretty much in line with what we're expecting, it's not going to have a huge effect on the market at all, nor is the unemployment claims. I know effect-wise, it's typically going to be, one of the higher impacted pieces of financial data that is going to have some of the most effect on the markets. But again, I think because the PMI, I should say, because inflation has been coming down, I don't think the PMI and the PCE, unless it comes out really, really hot, will have much of an effect. The GDP, however, the advanced GDP, that could have a decent effect, especially if it comes in low. But again, we'll just kind of have to see what happens with that. As far as the earnings go, like I said, Netflix is going to be sometime this week. We had Verizon, as we had already mentioned this morning. It looked like it's selling off. We have Microsoft and Google coming up. Tesla, Visa, Coke. I didn't know it's on here somewhere, unless they change the date. There's AbbVie. Well, shoot. When is Netflix? I could have sworn they were on here. I'm double checking on my phone because I have it right here. Netflix is... oh, geez, not till October. Maybe I was looking at the date wrong. I don't know. But whatever. I'm not too worried about it. Again, we do have some of these bigger companies that are going to be starting to report their earnings this week, like the Microsoft, the Googles, and the Teslas. MasterCard, AbbVie, ExxonMobil, Bristol Myers. Of course, ExxonMobil is going to have a large impact on the energy sector. So overall, there's definitely going to be some movement in the market this week. Whether or not it's up or down, we'll find out. But based on today, it does look like the market wants to rebound some. Although, again, there hasn't been any news today, so it could just be the simple fact that because there's really nothing going on, nobody's really selling, but there's not a lot of buyers either, so that could be it as well. So we do want to still, like I said, we want to maintain our reluctance a little bit. Be a little bit more neutral to maybe slightly more bullish than neutral, but we definitely don't want to be ultra bullish, and we definitely don't want to be bearish here either. Not yet, anyways. If this continues to move down, then yes, we are going to, turn to become more bearish overall. But in the grand scheme of things, again, not much to really go on right now. In terms of our positions, so Royal Caribbean, this is kind of an unfortunate situation because obviously we had sold these 170 calls against our 167.50 calls that expire August 2nd, and we created a new diagonal. Essentially, we rolled last week's, although we just kind of let last week's expire worthless. The problem with this is they just moved up their earnings to this week. It was set for next week. Now it's moved up to this week, so that caused the premium in these 170s to freaking skyrocket. So it really kind of sucks because right now Royal Caribbean is actually up on the day. If we go ahead and pull up the chart, maximize the sell, RCL. We'll look at the 5 minutes. So as you can see, RCL, Royal Caribbean is up on the day. Yet we are down big because they decided wanted to schedule and push forward their earnings, and it caused the premium to spike. So we are, how do we want to say it? In a situation right now where we're almost damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. I mean, we could close the position now and, take the loss, or we could leave it, open and hope that the earnings doesn't really have much of an effect on the market, on the specific stock. But if it goes up significantly, it might be hard to get out of it. But if it goes down significantly, we also lose. So again, we're in a really, really tough position with RCL. Best case scenario is it causes the stock to move up to about 170. And this is going to be on Thursday, by the way. If I go ahead and pull this back up really quick, I'm pretty sure they're on Thursday. Royal Caribbean. Yep, there it is. So Royal Caribbean will be on the 25th. See, it was originally scheduled for the 27th, and they moved it up for the 25th. Although the 27th would have been Saturday. Oh, that was last year's report. I'm not even looking at the year. Ha! So, originally it said the 29th, if I recall correctly. Moved up to the 25th. I'm not really sure if this just means that they haven't decided if it's going to be before the market opens or after the market closes. Oops, if we go down here, it'll probably say something a little bit better. Yeah, time not supplied. So yeah, we just don't know what time of the day it's going to be at yet. But again, they scheduled for now the 25th, and that kind of screwed us over in our position. But, if we go back and look at previous earnings for RCL, again, RCL will move a little bit during the earnings, typically, from what I recall. Doesn't want to move at all. Let me go ahead and just do the 3-year for one day. All right, so here, I'm just going to change this to there. All right, so here we had an earnings, and it didn't have much of an effect, honestly. Here we had earnings there. Why didn't this one highlight? There it goes. All right. Okay, so this one was before the market opened. That was what I was trying to find out, so I know to look at that specific candle, or the next candle, I mean. So before the market opens, it looked like it gapped up and then sold off. And in the end, it wasn't much of a movement. This one, before the market opened again, and again gapped up and then sold off to ultimately be not a huge move. Okay, this one, let's see, before market opened again and it gapped up, came back down. This one, before market opened, gapped up and it stayed up. Okay, this one, you can tell it gapped up and it came down a little bit, but it still stayed up overall. This one gapped up and stayed up, actually went up even more. So, who knows what to expect? That's all I could say. 169.35. Obviously, we don't want it to be much higher than 170. And my guess is from now until Thursday, there's not going to be a ton of theta burn because it is all relying on that earnings call. So people aren't really caring too much. So again, crappy situation to be in. It's almost unfair, but it is what it is. We kind of have to roll with it at this point. We should be up, but unfortunately we're down on the day because of that. Oh well. Coherent Corporation, they started off the day pretty well. Then they decided to fall off the cliff and die. And then since then, they actually have gone up actually even more. It says we're down $40 on the day. I don't necessarily understand how that's really possible. Again, it could be another glitch. Because the Thinkorswim software, for whatever reason lately, has been kind of crappy. But for the stock to be up over 1% and for us to be down wouldn't really make much sense. I mean, maybe it is accurate. I don't know. But regardless of that, it is starting to come back up. That's all we care about because we still have, 25 days till expiration. Now, once we get in within that 2-week span, then if we're still down here, obviously we're going to close. We want to be back up to where we're at least even with a couple weeks left. Obviously, being profitable would be better. Okay, so now it's starting to move up. That's interesting. But nonetheless, it is moving up. SOXX having a big move today. That's great. We need that one to move up quite a bit because we have the 245, 260 vertical. It did fall off quite a bit last week. If we go ahead and pull up that chart, let's just go ahead and zoom in here. So gapped up and it's staying kind of right there. Actually, the 50-day is now acting as resistance, which is not very promising to us. Oop. Gosh darn it. Let me go ahead and grab this guy again. There we go. All right. So, again, we gapped up. Stock wanted to move down a little bit. Bulls said nope. Bulls tried to pull it up. Bears said nope. Now we're having a little bit of a doji. But again, that could be, depending on your personal opinion, you can literally make that two separate opinions on that. You could say, well, that's going to be more bearish because it gapped up and it couldn't go anywhere, but at the same time it is a doji and we've been in this pullback, so we could say this is a reversal signal, and then as long as we get confirmation tomorrow, we could be moving back up. Obviously, I hope for the latter, but we don't know for sure what's going to happen. But again, the fact that technology, especially like Nvidia and other bigger companies, these semiconductor companies, are up today. Nvidia's up 2 and almost 3% as well. So see what we can do with Nvidia here moving forward. I know I mentioned that I would like to get into a position here. But we can't just go off of the one green candle. But I do like the fact that this is really, really looking like great support here. And I do like Nvidia to bounce overall. I want to see a little bit more confirmation, a little bit nicer of a candle, even possibly get over that 20-day moving average before we go ahead and do anything with this. But overall, it's looking like it's setting up to be a great opportunity to get into Nvidia if you have not been in Nvidia at all. I didn't pull up the chart for Coherent Corporation. Let's go back to the 3. There we go. It's a lot easier to see. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and boom. I always do this one wrong. Style. Defaults. There we go. All right, so same thing with Coherent Corporation. Gapped up and haven't really done much. Okay, but again, we're not selling off. So that's a good thing, of course. And then finally, ALB. ALB is wanting to move down, and it was brought back up. Overall, I'm still very bearish on this one. I still really enjoy and like the position we have here. I think it can go lower than this low this week, especially if the market does get a little bit of weakness sometime throughout the week. But again, this one's looking really good for us. If we go back over here, we are currently up. We're only up 260 on the day. We are kind of taking a little bit of a hit today because it is up a little bit. But, again, these 90 puts are at 92 cents right now. Okay, they are going to ultimately expire worthless if we stay over 90. Okay, so that's a lot that we can gain from that. And as long as we stay where we're at, or again, the best case scenario is we go down more. I mean, heck, if we stay at this 93 area, we'll be all right. I would like to see it down a little bit more, maybe around 92 or below, I would say. If we can get to 92 or below, I will like that quite a bit. But nonetheless, I don't mind where we're at right now. We just need to get it to go down a little bit more. If we do actually break 90 sometime throughout the week, I probably would close a position. But we'll see what happens. But I don't really have a ton for you because, again, the market is starting to show a little bit more strength than what we've had. I'm going to pull it back, the S&P really quick. Pull it back up. There we go. I mean, it's a straight doji. Not much happening today. Again, we didn't have any financial data that was released. I do like the gap up, though. I mean, we finished way down here on Friday, and we gapped up almost, 0.75%. So that in and of itself is bullish. But again, it could just be simply due to the fact that there was no financial reports that were coming out today. We did have Verizon again that did go ahead and release their earnings. SAP is going to be this evening. Most of these other companies I haven't even really heard of, with the exception of a couple of them. But obviously they're not going to have huge effects on the market. It's crazy, though, thinking about this. A $71 billion company, NXP Semiconductors, is having a small effect, if any effect, on the market. That's how big some of these companies are getting today. Verizon, $174 billion company, really no effect on the market. Being that we are an SOXX, I'm just curious to see what NXPI did. Let's see, NXPI, and they're up 2%. Okay, nothing crazy. So their earnings really didn't do anything. They're probably just being dragged up along with the rest of the semiconductor sector. So not a lot really to look at right now. Okay, not a ton to look at. I do like the idea of getting into some more positions soon, because we are going to either break resistance. Oops, let's go ahead and pull this one back up. We are either going to break resistance, okay? I'm sorry, support. We're going to break support and continue moving down, or we are going to bounce here and continue moving up. But again, right now, this is not telling us anything. If this was a big green bar and we were up to, say, we were up to 1.5% after we gapped up 0.75%, and we were up another 0.75% of the day, and we can still finish there. Who knows? That would be very bullish. This, even though we gapped up that 0.75%, that's not hugely bullish. That's mildly bullish, if anything. But I do like the fact, I will say this, I do like the fact that it is over. We gapped up over the 20-day moving average, and we are not falling below it. I mean, I know we did at one point, but we are back above it now, so I do like that. That is, I guess, one extra reason to be a little bit more bullish than bearish here. But nonetheless, I do like the idea of the S&P and the market overall showing a little bit more bullishness this week than last week. Last week is a nice sell-off, but ultimately it will just kind of depend on whether or not the financial data that comes out this week and the earnings that we have this week want to move the market up or down. It's just going to simply be a matter of, is the market going to like the information that we're getting, or is it not? And that's what we just have to kind of wait and see what happens with. So until then, again, we're probably not going to open up any new positions, simply due to the fact that it looks like the market's starting to sell off a little bit right now. Yep. So having a little bit of a dip here. Again, I'm not too worried about intraday trading because we're not day traders. But if we continue to move down throughout the day, then we can absolutely 100% argue that this gap up is ultimately not going to mean anything. So we just kind of have to see where we're at. Unfortunately, I do have a doctor's appointment this afternoon, so I will not be able to do a afternoon training. But of course, I will be on tomorrow. We're going to discuss everything. Keep an eye out. If you are a Platinum member, please keep an eye out for any trades that we send out, because I'm still going to be watching the market. I'm just not going to be able to do the training this afternoon. So keep an eye out. If we do make any trades, you will be the first to know via text. But otherwise, just be smart. Don't get crazy. Don't go ahead and do anything you know you shouldn't be doing. And let's continue making money, guys. So until then, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow.